Ferrari and Red Bull are by far the two teams that have adapted best to the new regulations this year. Whilst that may not shock anyone, the surprising fact is that last year's Constructors' champions Mercedes have taken a huge step back against the two other giants. But with 2 races under their belt, Mercedes are geared to make more significant adjustments to their car that they believe will be the first big step that will get them back at the same pace as Red Bull and Ferrari. So what are the adjustments that Mercedes intend to make before the race day in Australia, and will this be the perfect antidote to their current struggles? Porpoising is the new buzzword that drivers and F1 fans had to learn about this season, and the perfect poster car for that phenomenon would be Mercedes W13, as we've seen by now multiple onboard recordings of both Russell and Hamilton bouncing around the cockpit. As a band-aid solution, engineers at Mercedes have decided to elevate the ride height of the car, which minimises the porpoising to some degree, but in turn costs them pace and ultimately lap time, because that adjustment is an inefficient way to avoid porpoising, as it only reduces the downforce without reducing the drag that costs them valuable lap time. A way to mitigate some of this drag caused by the higher ride height is to use a rear wing with less downforce, and this is where Mercedes intends to make one of its first major upgrades before qualifying in Australia. If you think these major upgrades for Mercedes will be a game changer this weekend, subscribe to DRS Zone now. Due to the cost cap regulations, teams are more methodical now on when they decide to have replacement parts manufactured. The manufacturing of lower downforce wings has actually been playing catch up to the race schedule. Essentially, the rear wing could have helped the drivers out at Jeddah, but they hadn't been made yet. The rear wing that we're expecting to see in Australia is expected to be much smaller than the one the team used in Jeddah, and with the new changes to the Albert Park circuit being more rewarding to low drag than ever, Mercedes have finally found, potentially, the perfect setup for this weekend. Team principal Toto Wolff attested to these problems, saying, "I think we were probably overwinged. We had too much drag, and that is just because we are lacking parts at the moment, and hopefully we can remedy that." The average loss of pace of the W13 from pole position was 0.7 seconds per lap, though a more suitable rear wing could have helped them gain back some of that lost pace. This is only the first step for Mercedes towards fixing their issues. Another change Mercedes is planning to make is to the weight of the car by removing unnecessary paint jobs. It's been reported that both Mercedes and Red Bull are overweighted by 15 kilograms, with the leader of the Constructors' Championships, Ferrari, only being overweight by 5 kilos. With Mercedes stuck in no man's land right now, the adjustment may be a viable option at this moment because a full paint job on an F1 car can weigh up to 6 kilograms. These are the 2 big changes Mercedes are expected to make this weekend before Australia, but the team has also made it public that they intend to phase in their updates of the W13. Australia and the new lower downforce wing in Phase 1, and Phase 2 will be at Imola with the new floors that the team hopes will solve their porpoising problems once and for all. But you may wonder, why do they seem like they're not in a hurry to figure things out? That question was answered by Andrew Chauvelin, Mercedes' head trackside engineer, on the team's debrief video, saying, "We've got quite a lot to find both in qualifying and in the long run if we want to challenge the Ferrari and Red Bull cars. However, behind us, it looks like we've got a little bit of a margin to that midfield. We need to do a good job to be ahead of them, but we have a bit of a margin, and that buys us a bit of breathing space to allow us to experiment on the weekends, to try and bring solutions to lift the level of performance of the car. Ultimately though, this is a problem that is going to be fixed back at the factories both in Brackley and Brixworth. Everyone is working very hard to try and understand the issue and bring solutions, and we're going to be doing that in a phased way over the next few races." As for the competition ahead of them, Chauvelin wasn't oblivious to the fact that George Russell, who finished P5, was half a minute off the pace of leader Max Verstappen. While you'd expect Red Bull to be gloating in Mercedes' face right now, Red Bull's head of driver development Helmut Marko believes no one should write off Mercedes this early into the season. He went on to say, "The era after 2013 was determined by the new engine regulations, and Mercedes had an incredible dominance in the field. They were up 2 seconds ahead of everyone, but logically didn't show it. Now with the change of chassis and engine-wise, the differences are not so big. I'm fully convinced they'll be back if they get the bouncing under control. And Lewis Hamilton is 9 points behind Verstappen, so that's nothing either. And I don't think it's the end of an era, but maybe it's a fight on the same level." Helmut also gave his insights as to what could be causing Mercedes problems right now besides the obvious porpoising. He believes that there are 2 main issues. One is the increase in synthetic fuel, which has gone from 5 to 10%, 5% may not sound like a lot to most of us, but when coupled with Andy Cowell, one of Mercedes' brightest engineers, departing from the team, and another 50 people leaving to work for their rival Red Bull, Mercedes may just not have enough brain power to solve the issues that they're currently facing right now. But Toto Wolff would also downplay the fact that they've lost some of their brightest engineers to Red Bull, saying, "I think it's pretty obvious that if you want to set up an engine factory in the UK, there's only one option, and that's us. We have 900 or so employees there, and if you're fishing out 15 or so, that's really normal." As for Lewis Hamilton, Rebecca Clancy, the Times Formula 1 correspondent, reports that there is an ongoing talk in the paddock with people saying he's won a race every season since 2007, and there's actually a chance he might not win a race this year. The British driver will have a chance to add to his list of achievements if he gets pole position again in Melbourne this weekend. The Australian Grand Prix is returning to the season calendar this weekend after a 2-year absence because of precautionary measures enforced by the country. Lewis has taken pole position at the Australia Grand Prix since the dawn of the hybrid cars from 2014 to 19. If he successfully gets another one on Saturday, he'll set a new all-time record for the most poles achieved on any one circuit. But when his teammate George Russell was asked as to what he expects from the team at Melbourne, he had this to say: "I think it will be very similar, to be honest. I don't see any reason why we will make any strides forward. We're definitely the third fastest team at the moment, closer to the fourth than we are the second. It's going to be more of the same in the coming races." Team principal Toto Wolff also squashed any hopes by fans for Lewis Hamilton to set another record, believing that there is no quick fix to their current problems. He recently said in an interview, "We are in a learning race and the first 2 weekends have shown we still have plenty to learn. At the moment, our track performance is not meeting our own expectations, but everyone at Brackley and Brixworth is focused on understanding the problems and finding the right solutions. There won't be a magic fix for the race this weekend, but we're pushing to steadily bring gains over the coming races, to hopefully move closer to the front of the pack. Until then, we need to maximize each opportunity and make the most of the package we have." If all of this is true, and Mercedes continues on the pace they currently have, Mercedes may lose their chances at continuing their streak that has lasted for 8 years now, even though we're very far from the last race of the season. And with that, any hopes of Lewis to win his 8th driver's title as well. Currently, Mercedes still holds second place in the constructors' standings, but in the eyes of many, that will undoubtedly change after this weekend. But what do you think? Is Toto downplaying the effects that the new updates will have on the cars? Can Hamilton surprise everyone and get pole position on Saturday? Or will this really be more of the same, with Mercedes losing their chances of catching up with Red Bull and Ferrari? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to DRS Zone.